Hans, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Are you?
Yeah, not bad, thanks. Just to give some context, we met at the CSTA. So well done on winning your award for, was it Tech Innovation you won?
Yeah, it was. I think it was called Technology Innovation, some variation on innovation.
Well done. We received the marketing awards at explorers.com. So it was a nice little event to be part of. And
Brilliant.
always nice to go with some sorry?
I really enjoyed it. It was great. My first one.
Yeah, it was same. So it was nice to put some faces to names and obviously get a chance to meet you as well.
Thank you. And you?
So I've just got a few questions for you, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
So can you tell me in a nutshell about DSOC?
Yeah, of course I can. So I'll keep it relevant to self-storage. So in essence, we are a control room, a remote monitoring control room. So we receive events and alarms from all manner of fire and security systems. So fire alarms, intruder alarms, CCTV systems, and then focused with self-storage access control systems.
Fantastic. So does that mean that there's some poor person in a dark room looking at about 50 screens at night time?
Well, I did consider having my background, actually. I've got one of them virtual backgrounds that shows the control room, but no, it's yes and no. So we were purpose built. Our facility was purpose built in 2020. So the facility standards that we hold to, we were actually the first in Europe to pass that. So for that, you've got to have an airlock door. So you do have to have it locked in. You've got to have the concrete surround, and you've got to have a generator to run the control room if power went off. So yes, we do have all the control room kind of bits and pieces. But I think what really has made DSOC in self-storage, I just alluded to it when I said what we monitor, it's how much we understand the access control systems in self-storage and the way a customer interacts with the site.
Yeah.
We focused in on that in 2020. I always kind of say it is by design and by hard work, but also timing. That was 2020. The whole mindset of most sectors was shifting remote. Pandemic, for obvious reasons.
That was linking into what I was going to ask next, was have you noticed any sort of opportunities in the industry or challenges with how things have changed in the recent years?
I mean, for us, for the service we provide and for DSOC, opportunities galore really since that change. Obviously, it were unfortunate circumstance back then, but for myself, the chance to join DSOC came out of that pandemic. They'd opened as a monitoring business, and all that opportunity was there, but it was about kind of focusing the service to catch that. Any facilities moving unmanned, any behaviour like that, any of them looking for either they've got the staff, but the staff are running the site remotely, or they're reducing the staff between certain hours. At that point, if they give us access to everything possible on site, CCTV, access control, logs, such like, then we can offer an enhanced service. But then also on the flip side, I think people became aware because of the rising crime, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The opportunity for crime was also there. There was opportunity for business. Our particular industry, the security industries, when crime goes like that, our opportunities go like that. So for us, it was about spending that time back in 2020, focusing the service.
I remember seeing a post on LinkedIn, and I think it could have actually been you, where someone said, promote the problem, not your solution. And I think it was, I find it really hard to promote crime, to be honest.
I say that quite a lot. Yeah. So I'll have Teams calls with our existing customers, and they'll be like, oh, that must be good for you guys at the minute. There's been loads of break-ins in this way, that way. And we're always like, no, I mean, I know what you mean, but we don't want that.
No one wants that.
We're in this to prevent it. And I think that's where hopefully that's where the kind of the passion for that comes across. I was a security systems engineer. I installed systems to try and catch and prevent crime. So now we're on this side. We're just trying to do the same. And that's where some other people give me a little bit of banter about my LinkedIn content because I'm on it quite often, and I'm also thanking customers very often. But it's genuinely heartfelt because we cannot do what we do if the customers and the sector doesn't engage with us, because we've got to get on top of these.
I found since joining the sort of storage network on LinkedIn, as it were, that that people are active and people are very vocal, but it is genuine and sincere. I honestly feel like a lot of people on there, if not everyone, has everyone's backs. And it's not sort of self-righteous promotion. It's heartfelt, and I think we all do care. I think that's the thing with the industry, is we all genuinely care about the customer, be it other businesses or the end user. For us, it's an industry of caring.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's. I imagine retail may have been like it in the early days. I think it's that still on a pattern of growth. A lot of people have done well and are doing well. But this last 2-3 years, as much as it's been great for self-storage on occupancy and rates and such like, they're also now aware that that's maybe leveling out, and there's challenges ahead as well. So that camaraderie kind of kicks back in. But for us, I don't complicate that matter, because I've learned a lot about self-storage and business in self-storage, but that's obviously not our focus. So all we're ever really interested in is, as soon as there's some crime going on, what are the patterns? What are the MO around that? How can we use your systems on site and our remote tools to combat that and prevent it?
And what do you think the most effective tool that you have is?
By an absolute distance, it's the access control systems. So I'll name drop a few. I'll try. I mean, I might get in trouble for this. We remotely monitor the PTI, Bearbox, Nokia, Sentinel, Sensorberg, all the access control systems that have been built for purpose for self-storage. We've managed to get events and alarms out of them systems that I don't think other monitoring suppliers even know exist. And that's due to the amount of time we spend focusing in this sector.
That's really good. So if you could give a storage operator one piece of advice, what would it be?
This is one piece of advice that has disrupted some in other sectors, kind of turned them off a little bit. But in self-storage, it's key. It's what's made it work. I think you've got to engage and challenge your existing security suppliers. Now, that sounds quite aggressive, especially the challenge aspect. But what we found is the real service delivery focused security suppliers, they'll welcome the challenge. They'll welcome it. They'll see it as an opportunity, because it is an opportunity. If you go to them to go, I've had 8 cameras around my building for 12 years. All they've ever done is look at the car park. What else are they doing for me? And that security supplier doesn't like that conversation. In my opinion, they're missing the point. They should be seeing that going, well, do you want them to do something? Because they're 12 years old now. So you'll need new cameras. You might need new sensors. You might need a new installation. But as long as that security supplier is giving you some transparency and a good feeling, which a lot of it in self-storage is feeling of trust, they make money from upgrade, service, maintenance, and you ultimately end up with the solution you should have.
Yeah, exactly. I think times have changed a lot in that sort of time span, especially that technology has come on so far, which is obviously how you've ended up with an award as well. It makes sense to sort of challenge what you're currently being offered. I think it goes beyond even just a self-storage piece of advice. I think that if you're using the same supplier of anything for a long amount of time, then it's probably time to ask some questions. And definitely when sort of security is involved for a self-storage facility, it's a big job for insurance and everything. You want to make sure that you're offering not just yourself and your own sort of profits, but your customers the best thing that you can. So no, I completely agree, and DSOC are doing a great job by the sounds of it.
Yeah, well, thank you. I think just to add context to it, like, we obviously are challenged sometimes too. We've obviously got to learn from certain situations, and we've had that. There's a lot out there, particularly with how much I push it out onto LinkedIn as well, that it has been hugely positive. The growth's been outstanding and the awards are great and it is good, but the behind the scenes, there's all sorts of challenges. It's not as if this is a success story waiting to happen every time there's a crime.
No, absolutely not. At the end of the day, I think you'd rather your entire staff sat there watching just blank screens, knowing that you've provided enough of a deterrent that there is no crime. I think that's the ideal, because no one really wants anything bad to happen, do they?
No, do it. No one. That's not what we're in it for.
And I've got one last thing, which is because every time I speak to you, you tell me a new story. So do you have an interesting or amusing anecdote that you can share?
Well, last time we spoke, I had the one about the cleaner that we challenged that was carrying a sweeping brush, but it got put down as it might be an axe.
Yeah, the Grim
So,
Reaper.
I mean, that's one. You'd rather challenge that than not. That's one. But when I actually wanted to, it was actually more about CCTV and the security industry itself, actually. So I don't think people realise how far back and how long ago it was being used. It's one that I was taught on one of the first courses I ever did back in my training days. And it was and I might be wrong. Someone's probably going to jump on and go, he's wrong here. But I was told this, so this is what I'm saying. The first use of CCTV for public space surveillance in the UK was in 1960. And it was for two reasons. It was for a visit of the Thai royal family. And it was also to watch the crowds for Guy Fawkes Day. And as anyone who's in CCTV will understand what I mean by this, it was unsuccessful. And it was challenged to death and needed to improve like now. All the time, that CCTV. It's like, it's amazing, isn't it? It'd be great if it could do this.
I think everyone looks at those sort of 90s movies where they're like, oh, zoom in on that, zoom in on that. And you're like, I don't think that's how, maybe it's a lot better now, but I don't think that's definitely how it worked then. But yeah, I think it shows that you're constantly improving, aren't you?
Yeah, that's it. What's that now? 63 years later. And we're talking, I mean, the hot topic at the minute that I'll be speaking about at Fidessa is facial recognition.
That's amazing. Is that something you're offering to customers?
No, not as a product or service sell. It's one that I'm exploring. On the technology side, we know that it can be done. We've to be careful because most of it's down to the data controller and data processing requirements on GDPR. So we are engaged with a company called FaceWatch. I did a survey with them just as recent as last week, and that's going to be the basis of a lot of what I speak about at Fidessa.
That'd be really interesting. Well, thank you very much for your time today.
Oh, thank you.
I'm sure I'll speak to you soon.
Absolutely.
Right.
See you soon.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.